Hello and welcome to one of the next series here at the World Crypto Network, coming from you live from the Mises University as we are finishing up here. And we're going to read today from the book from Jörg Guido Holtzman called Mises, The Last Night of Liberalism. And we're going to read the first two paragraphs. In the summer of 1940, with Hitler's troops moving through France to enter Switzerland, Ludwig von Mises sat beside his wife Margaret on a bus filled with Jews fleeing Europe. To avoid capture, the bus driver took back roads through the French countryside, stopping to ask locals if the Germans had been spotted ahead, reversing and finding alternative routes if they had been. Mises was 2 months shy of his 59th birthday. He was on the invaders' list of wanted men. 2 years earlier, they had ransacked his Vienna apartment, confiscating his records and freezing his assets. Mises then hoped to be safe in Geneva. No, nowhere in Europe seemed safe. Not only was he a prominent intellectual of Jewish descent, he was widely known to be an arch enemy of National Socialism and of every other form of socialism. Some called him the last night of liberalism. And that is the great Ludwig von Mises, who this fantastic institute is being named after. And of course, it's the man right up here, sitting over our shoulders. And we just finished the Mises University, one of the greatest weeks here in Austrian economic theory. And we have with me two of the finalists in the mündliche Prüfung, in the last session, in the final exam here at the institute. It were tough questions. Not many people made it there, but those two did. So they're two of the brightest smart economists that we have here among us. So we're going to start off with just introduce yourself for a quick second. How did you come to Austrian economics, and what do you think about the week so far?
Well, first, I'd like to I think that's the first time I've heard the name of the oral exam pronounced correctly. So now I know, okay, that's how you say it. Didn't know that. I'm Austrian Chamberlain. Yeah, say it again.
So this is...
Oh, hell no.
It's called the mündliche Prüfung. It means oral exam in English, and it is German. That is the big pro of being German. I can read human action in its original German form, which is fascinating.
Human action in its original was in English.
Yes, exactly. And for example, theory of money and credit.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm Austrian Chamberlain. I just finished up my undergrad at Loyola University, New Orleans, where I studied under Walter Block, and I will be now getting a master's at Troy University in Alabama, which also has a very good Austrian department. I came to the Mises Institute in Austrian Economics and Libertarianism through the Ron Paul 2012 campaign. So that's, as soon as you get in the Ron Paul, it kind of snowballs from there. So that's, the story real quick.
Exactly, absolutely. Ron Paul brought many, many people here in this movement, and we're glad that we had Ron Paul because now we have Fernando here with us. Oh, no.
That one's Fernando.
That one's Fernando. I'm sorry, the names are horrible. So, Fernando, who are you, and how did you get into Austrian economics?
So I'm Bernardo, I'm Italian, and I studied in London, and I studied in a particularly crazy, hippie, freaky university, commie university, and so I started reading sort of something else, right, trying to see the other side to it, and then I came across, the first guy I came across was Friedman, right, his Free to Choose series and so forth, but then videos, being in YouTube, some videos appear, right? And I remember this video on given by Tom Woods, like how an Austrian economist smashes Krugman or something. And I'm like, wow, this looks interesting. And so that was the first initial input, and then it was a evolutionary, it's like step-by-step process till I started, learning about Hayek, Mises, Rothbard, and that's if I were to summarize, that would be the way I came to it.
You really fall down the rabbit hole, right? You start with one book and then the next and the next, and it's such a broad field of economics. It's not just mathematics or some equations. It's really depth. It's in-depth stuff, and there are many books that you can read and many special theories that you can go into. We heard, of course, many lectures in this week. So what would you say? What were some of the interesting lectures, and which lectures did you like the most?
Oh boy. The sweatshops one by Powell was pretty interesting. It's something that obviously not a lot of people at the conference here were going to disagree with it, but it's always nice to have an argument for those types of criticisms that are often levied against free marketeers. Patrick Newman's works on progressive era and some work on the Gilded Age was also, those were fantastic lectures.
Absolutely, and that is the good things. We really have here amazing professors like Patrick Newman who can go into the detailed historical accounts and provide a great amount of knowledge in precise terms, really compact, but still, of course, well researched. So absolutely, great lectures. So how about you? What lectures did you like, and what areas do you find fascinating?
I don't. Which one did you say of lectures? The progressive
Sweatshops and the two ones that Patrick did.
Maybe my favorite was the graduates. I mean, it's difficult to decide, right? But probably the most interesting was the graduate seminar on William Hart, who was sort of influenced by the classical economist, and his ideas on the the role of prices and so forth was very Misesian, and even among Austrians, he's not well known. Not even I knew a lot about him. Matter of fact, I never read a book about him, like of him. And his main contribution were to demolish Keynesian economics and to rehabilitate. Actually, a book of his is called The Rehabilitation of Say's Law, which is interesting, especially because they teach the Say's Law, how they teach it in universities. It's very simplistic and it doesn't really. It's not what Say said, and so I found it interesting. And other lectures were the one on the progressive era, and obviously and then Mises and Rothbard on ethics. That was.
I was about to say that.
So was Dr. Jonathan Newman's graduate session on it was the one on econometrics. That one was great.
That one. But what was there also another one, like a concurrent lecture?
Maybe, but
well, there are so many good lectures that we
really want. Day one, I think, was supposed to be on Monday. What you're talking? I'm not sure.
Yeah, we have to put several lectures at the same time period, so unfortunately you cannot attend them all. But the good thing is that because the Mises Institute and Mises.org is such a pristine organization, they upload all those video lectures and audio lectures for free at Mises.org, so definitely go there, and that's the place to be in Austrian economics.
We did, and just come multiple times, and you can hit up all the...
Is it like his 10th time?
10th time?
No, it's my 5th. It's
Your
my
5th time?
It's my 5th Mises year.
Okay, so let's talk about that next. Of course, if you, I watched the lectures from the previous 5 or 6 years, but of course, being here is something completely different.
Oh, yeah.
So how would you describe the differences between the first time you got here and now having the 5th time? How did you progress?
Well, I think the most advantageous part of attending multiple times is the lectures that didn't get to, that were kind of complicated the first year. When you get to hear multiple times, you start to understand them. For example, David Gordon's praxeology lecture, I think that took to like the 3rd or 4th time sitting through it that finally clicked. So I think that's definitely one of the advantages. And then once you're here sitting the 5th time, you're listening to those lectures like, oh yeah, okay, I got those now. So it's, but when you first come here, it's also, you don't know anyone, so you're kind of shy. But I think one of the best parts about Mises is the social aspect. So getting to come multiple times and meeting a whole bunch of new people, but then also seeing people that you've met before, like Bernard, that we met, I think, 3 Mises years ago. It's cool to see people again that you develop such a strong bond with over the week of Mises U.
Absolutely, yes. And I agree. It's good to see those lectures several times. And it's good to reread books that are really, really dense. Well, because they are dense. So how often have you been here, and what did you learn from attending it several times?
Well, I came here in 2016. That's when I met Anton, and first year didn't even pass the written exam to show because I was just these lectures are all new to me. Well, not completely new because I listened to them online and read this and that article. So, but as a whole they were new. And year by year, I mean, actually, it gets better each year because you get to sort of look at things from different angles, and there were things maybe you want to sort of you realize you're not sure about, other kind of nuances, and so that's
time.
Exactly, and you're able to tie everything together, and that's a great part. Yeah, let's say.
Absolutely, yes. So this was my first time attending live. I want to be here.
He's the winner. He's the winner.
He's the winner.
He's the winner.
Come here.
HJ.
Just for a second.
It's you. We have here the winner of the mündliche Prüfung.
He is.
He is coming up there.
And the
So
second, and he's the
Hello.
Yeah.
Please don't call me a faggot online. Thank you very much.
well, okay. One question. How often have you been here at Mises University?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And what did you say was different the first time and the second time, especially considering that now you turned out to be the best student here and that you won the final round, the mündliche Prüfung?
The first thing first is I never expected to win. I wasn't even at the awards ceremony. It was somebody told me afterwards, so that's good. But the first thing first, I mean, it's a different approach. Rather trying, never read Mises to believe Mises, but always read Mises to fight Mises. But then you realize soon enough that he's right every time.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, I saw just real quick. I saw someone ask what he won. I think you won $2,500, right? So you win $2,500.
Well,
for
as
first.
we talked about that a couple shows ago, as long as the prostitution is voluntary, it's all good. So you said earlier that the social aspect of Mises University is probably even more important than the lectures themselves, right? So who were the people that you talked to, and what did you take away from all those conversations?
Well, I talked to Bernardo a good little bit. Who else? I think it was really fun. This year I talked to a lot of the fellows, I think a good bit this week. It's really cool to see people that they're slightly older than you, but they're so much more advanced. You can just, even though they're perhaps in age not too much older than you can still soak up so much knowledge from the fellows that get to spend the entire summer here with Dr. Thornton and Dr. Salerno, and this year also Dr. Holtzman. So I very much enjoyed talking to the fellows this year.
Absolutely, right. By the way, both Dr. Salerno and Dr. Holtzman have been here on the show, so that's how you see this. Those professors are really fantastic. They are high-grade professors, and it's an honor to talk to them and to meet them here and to ask them the challenging question that you yourself have not made up your mind about. So all those conversations are really fascinating. So, Bernardo, what did you take away from talking to the students, to the professors, to the fellows?
But this year there were some different professors. There was Professor Holtzman wasn't here. I met him this year, which was a very good experience. And plus, you get to know. I mean, as Anton said, first year you come here, you're sort of a bit shy and you don't want to speak to the professors. You don't want to engage with them. But as years pass, you get also to talk about many different issues, and so that's something good about this year, right? It's my third year, so hopefully not I'll be coming next year and maybe apply for a fellowship. I don't know. We'll see.
Fun to be a fellow.
The fellowship would be amazing. I'm trying to write my bachelor thesis here. I hope it's going to work out. Time-wise, I would have time, but let's see. It will be only for 2 months, so not the entire summer.
We have New Orleans
and Germany. Which is it? Well, I am from Germany. I have no idea where you guys are from.
I'm from Georgia.
But like,
I went to undergrad in New Orleans.
You are.
I'm from Italy, just Italian.
Oh, okay, yes, right. Nice. So, of course, we have all read probably many books. So, what was one of the most influential books from the great masters?
Okay, I'm going to be stereotypical, but I don't think it can be understated just how much of a masterpiece Man, Economy, and State is. It's Man, Economy, and State, and it's incredible. It's a stereotype for a reason to say that's your favorite book, because it's revolutionary, it's breathtaking, and Rothbard was such a good writer. It's so comprehensive, but yet so understandable. I love that book.
Yes. The funny thing is that I heard a legend that Rothbard was writing Man, Economy, and State at a pace of 8 pages per hour. So it's
of course he was. Of course.
Yeah. I mean, that was his average speed. I don't know if he took a bit longer for Man, Economy, and State. He probably did, because it is a masterpiece.
It was supposed to be a textbook in the beginning. Then it became exactly like a shorter version and so forth. And then he made it a textbook. And there's actually an interesting thing. He wrote a chapter 5. Well, if you look at, I think it was in the early 1990s. He gave an interview at the Austrian Economics newsletter where he says that he had to that in the beginning he had to rewrite chapter. He wrote this production theory. He didn't like it because it was all neoclassical, and since it was via textbook, he had to rewrite it all. And plus, he saw that there are many things that are implicit in Mises, which have not been sort of articulated. And so, one element which is great in that book is his chapter 10 on monopoly. He makes a super contribution, saying, Mises overlooked this fact that in the market economy, we never have sort of those parameters in order to see whether a price is a monopoly price or a competitive price. It's just a market price. And so I think money economy and state is, I think, the best. At least it's understandable, right? It's normal. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, we have Human Action here right behind us in the first edition. Over there in the other library, we have Man, Economy, and State in the first edition. And yes, Human Action is written by Ludwig von Mises, but it is dense. It is not easy. It is really something that is, quite hard to read, actually. But it's good. So it's good that Rothbard wrote a more accessible treatise on economics, because this book really covers everything. And I personally like the second part, Power and Markets, which got combined, I think, in the Scholar edition. I think it was the fourth. And it is fantastic. It destroys the state. Pretty much from beginning to end. It just says, no, it does not make any sense whatsoever. It is both immoral and just economically not useful. It does not create prosperity, does not create wealth. On the contrary, it destroys it. And of course, Austrian economics, and of course Rothbard especially, is heavily tied with anarchism and with no government, with freedom. So on the anarchism side, how much of an anarchist are you, and what do you think in that entire theory?
Oh yeah, I'm completely anarcho-capitalist. It took me, I thought it took me much later, but then I went back and looked at some of my stuff, like in the margins what I drew in high school. So it took me about a year from discovering Ron Paul to becoming an anarcho-capitalist. So I'm definitely completely on board with all that. Since you brought up anarchists and the fact that Rothbard wrote about 8 pages a minute, there's a quick story about Walter Block. He said one day he got up really early because he just wanted to work all day and see how much he could write. He got up really early, went to bed real late, and he wrote about 23 pages. And so he felt really good about himself, right? And so he calls up Rothbard because he's trying to brag. And he tells him that, and he's asked Rothbard, how much do you write usually? And first Rothbard's like, who keeps track? But Walter was persistent, so he kept asking. And Rothbard says, 8 pages an hour. And so Walter's like, so in my best day, that was like 3 hours of Rothbard.
Yeah, it is really crazy, right? Isn't it? So same question to you, Bernardo. How much of an anarchist, anarcho-capitalist are you, or are you more on the minarchist side?
No, I'm an anarchist, although I stress the hierarchy is very important. I'm not those kind of anarchists who say, well, like, without the government, it would all be sort of horizontal, right? Society would be horizontal, egalitarian, and so forth. I believe that in an anarcho-capitalist society is if it is to function, is hierarchical. But again, hierarchies are based upon natural talents, natural phenomena, as opposed to state-enforced or state-privileged. I think this Hoppe is very important in this. He distinguishes between, a state order and a natural order. And if we want to be serious about this anarchy thing, the word anarchy is a bit of a weird. I don't like it that much, and I don't agree with Professor Block on this, because archos doesn't mean actually omnipotent government. It means rule, sort of. It means law, and in the Latin thing, law is associated with natural law. But we're not against. We're actually against a natural order. We believe in law, and that's why. And actually, a state of society is the opposite of law. It's just decrees upon decrees, edicts, and so forth. But we anarchists, we don't believe. If I say, "Oh, I'm an anarchist," "Oh, you're one of those guys, one of bomb cities and so forth." But no, that's not the case. We just believe that we want the sovereignty of law, right, which is independent of everyone's will.
But I disagree with you in one point, is that I think that on the language side of things, historically speaking, anarchy comes from the Greek, meaning anarchon. And an, of course, without, and archon does not mean rules, because I don't think that anarchy means no rules. Archon, in the Greek translation, means rulers. So anarchy, according to Greek translation, means without rulers. So no masters, no slaves.
Law, like law. So
yes.
I mean, by it's all definitions, but
Yeah, this is just
but
semantic.
exactly.
But to show that like we believe it's better, in my opinion, natural order or private government.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the distinction to be made is between the state and the government, and I know that in English it's a bit difficult to make the distinction because when you say the government, you actually intend the state, but at least in the European languages, or at least in Italian, there's a huge distinction to be made between a state and a government. We all believe in government. I believe in government.
Governance.
No, government meaning the Italian word governo. Means rule, simple rule. The problem is whether it's voluntary or not voluntary, and I don't believe that in an anarcho-capitalist society you have billions of governments, right? I don't. It might be, but I don't think it's necessary. I think there can be one, a group of people who sort of are delegated responsibility of sort of keeping order and so forth. The thing is that it's voluntary and people are able to opt out, just like a club. So I don't believe, that an anarchist society is going to be like sort of completely, I don't know. Because people are, there are costs to that, right? So just like in a market, we don't see simply billions of mom and pop stores. Yeah, we see a couple or some, but then we see, Walmart and these big stores because it's much more convenient. And the costs of doing otherwise are greater. So I would think that if there would be competition for what concerns government, then we would have a similar thing to what we have in other sectors of the economy.
Absolutely, yes, and that's a good thing with competition and with the free market. We do not know how it's going to play out, right? This is something that we have to discover. We cannot explain it a priori. We cannot explain it before. Therefore, it's a beautiful travel. It's a trip and to see where this will lead us and where freedom will lead us. And there is something called the spontaneous order, the invisible hand. If there is a free market and if all transactions are voluntarily, we will naturally move towards more prosperity. And this goes in every walk of life. So thank you two for coming here on. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Clear that you
I just want to put on the ruler part. I think there's nothing wrong with having rulers, so long as they rule in accordance with natural rights.
Exactly.
In the sense that, and that's the distinction, the medieval distinction. They used to make the distinction between authority and power, and so long as power is backed by authority, it's fine. The problem is that when power is not backed by authority, and by authority we mean what was meant was basically natural law, justice, respect of the individual and of his rights. So if a person rules by simply protecting people, I mean the government, by sort of the state by its definition, does not protect individual rights because it lives upon it lives on the violation of those rights. So when power is not backed by authority, then that's when it's unjust, and so that's why anarchy for me is a bit of a complicated thing. It's just a definition.
Well, out of the Greek definition, anarchon, without rulers, no masters, no slaves, we can naturally derive the natural law principle. And anarchon saying without rulers implies that natural law is being upheld. Because with no rulers that are being forced upon, then...
Right, the force is not necessarily implied in the rulers.
That is true, yes.
Like my mother rules in the family. My father rules. But it's a natural sort of order. It's not like a law-determined thing that she enforces. There are these things. Authority is a rule, right? My boss rules, but it's not a coercive thing, right? And so I think stressing this thing of hierarchy makes it not only better and more realistic, so that people think. Because at the end of the day, despite government intervention, we have also natural hierarchies, right? My boss, my teacher, and so forth. These are not, they're not state enforced. and yet they exist. So we must acknowledge that, you know. And again, it always comes up to the idea that people are unequal. So in the division of labor, there are some people who simply are better in protecting us, and we are happy to delegate the responsibility of ruling, so long as, obviously, as they rule in accordance with justice, with natural law.
Anything that's peaceful, absolutely. So, any last words that you have? Anything that you want to say about the Mises Union?
Apply. It's a hell of a week. It's a lot of fun. So if you can come out, I think that'd be, go for it.
It is fantastic. And if you can't come here, watch all the lectures online. They are there for free on the YouTube channel at Mises Media or at Mises.org. Thank you for watching so far. We're going to try to have some other students on here as well. PJ? So thank you, you two.
Thank you very much.
Again, congrats for winning the finals of the Mündliche Prüfung.
How's it going, y'all?
So, again, taxation is theft. That's a good way to start it off.
Taxation is that.
Thank you. So, teacher, let's squeeze in here a little bit more.
Absolutely.
We are nice in the middle. So, of course, taxation is theft. I hope that you all learned that, because taxation is not voluntary. So, TJ, we had you on before.
Yes.
What did happen so far? How do you like Mises University?
I think it is simply the best week of the year. It is where you learn just Austrian economics, the libertarian philosophy. You are joined by a group of amazing students who are dedicated to learning about this and making freedom win, and realizing that we won't have liberty in our lifetimes, but we can give our future a freer world because of our pursuits of making public awareness of this, or even engaging in motivating the next Ron Paul or Thomas Massey to get into office. I mean, we're here in this place of history. We're here in Murray Rothbard's personal library. Right behind us is Ludwig von Mises' typewriter on which Human Action was written. I mean, there's so much that you can, there's just so much that you can find here. The faculty are amazing. They are so supportive of you. I mean, Mises University is done the way that a college should be done. Their focus is truth. Their focus isn't to wage some political agenda. They're accused of that because they support freedom, but the fact is freedom is the truth here. When you consider all that has been done in our history, freedom has been the driving force of that. It's what gives us the most progress. It's what gives humanity its true prosperity. It fulfills our very nature. So that's what I think is the most impressive part of it.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. The good thing is that we are fighting here for a true cause. Freedom, natural rights, the natural law, the natural order of things is, well, it is natural. It is ever existing, and you can prove it. And you can prove that it is there. And it is just logical. It is easy for every child to understand that you shouldn't hurt nobody, and that you should not kill and steal and pillage and murder, because that's just bad. And if we understand that, and we can further study, okay, what are the economic benefits of that? What are the economic benefits of freedom? And then we get into stuff like, of course, free trade and individual valuation, coupled with the mutual benefit of trade, which always leads to prosperity. There are so many things that are true in this economic theory that you can prove. So as in Bitcoin, don't trust, verify. And that is the spirit here at Mises University. So we, of course, had many, many lectures. And which lecture did you particularly like? Of course, it's almost impossible to say.
If I had to give a favorite, it would honestly be Guido Holtzman's lecture on deflation. Monetary policy has always been the thing that has interested me the most in economics, and he knocks it out of the ballpark when he points out that although the Keynesians lie to claim that inflation is what drives growth, no, it's always been deflation. It's where the price level is dropping. In other words, the price of living is getting to be less and less, which gives us the ability to have more savings, more investment, to make a more prosperous future. The thing that sets apart the generations that made the best world is that they were willing to put stuff aside for the future. We're at a fork in the road right now because, frankly, the entire world is in immeasurable debt. And at some point, the system will collapse because trust in the system is gone. we can choose to live in the moment right now and be these post-future hedonists where we just consume for ourselves, or we can set aside and prepare for this collapse for our future and ensure that our families and our communities actually have something to look forward to. Because Generation Z, my generation, we are the first generation that is predicted to live shorter lives than our parents. First time in human history. And that's because we can see the consumption that has been encouraged by the Keynesian philosophy, which is ultimately the biggest instance of high time preference and present orientedness, where they have no concern for the future because they just want to focus on themselves. It's been that way for years. Austrian Economics warns against this, that it's within our best interest to have a stable and honest monetary supply. This will lead to a slower growth, but we will still continue to grow. The growth the Keynesians promise is completely unsustainable, and the crashes are always worse than the growth.
Well spoken, and I absolutely agree. The lecture from Guido Holtzman's are always a treat. They are incredibly well thought out, and he's a great rhetorical speaker. He is interactive with the community and with the audience, and that is fantastic. Again, we had him on this channel, so you really got to see some amazing speakers. And I agree that deflation, as he lays it out, is not that bad. And I especially loved looking at his lecture with the eyes of Bitcoin, with the eyes of a Bitcoin entrepreneur, because Bitcoin is the deflationary currency. Because what does deflation mean for the currency? The price goes up. What does the price of Bitcoin do? It goes up quite a lot. So Bitcoin is the deflationary currency. And if you go back and listen to his talk, again, for free available on YouTube at Mises Media or at Mises.org, you can realize that what he is talking about is Bitcoin. He gives the perfect argument why Bitcoin is not going to end the Fed, but destroy it. Fractional reserve banking will be dying with Bitcoin and gold as alternatives. And therefore, the state will also, the welfare warfare state, has no chance of surviving with a sound money, because they survive by stealing from people. And that is something that I'm just so passionate about, to end the Fed, which is a nice thing to be passionate about. So yes. What do you think? What did Mises University give you on a motivational side? What new things do you want to do now that you have attended here?
So I'm an activist. I run political campaigns, and I only campaign for people who fit within two categories, that is principled and viable. So the principled part is easy. If you understand the truth of Austrian economics and the Austro-libertarian tradition, you're good in my book. The viable part is what's hard. And we need to make sure that we have more people out there actually getting viable candidates in, or starting business to where you can live without the state. We need to be moving toward that. I just think it's fascinating, though, just because it really has motivated me to get more involved, to get into studies, to actually spread this message even more. Even the ancients understood the monetary theories. I'm going back to money because I'm just so passionate about it.
We're Bitcoiners. We're all passionate about that.
Absolutely.
You're a gold bug, but still.
I'm a gold bug, but I'm invested in Bitcoin. So
good. Now you just have to use it.
Oh, I use it. I do. I just have more of my savings in gold. Like my investment portfolio is more like 2/3 gold and silver. It's more 1/3 silver, 1/3 gold, 1/3 Bitcoin, and other crypto. That's really what I did. Just make sure to diversify that in case something goes wrong with either of the three.
Very good. That's a perfect portfolio, guys. Don't be all in Bitcoin. Don't be all in gold. Be smart about it. Diversify, but don't diversify in fiat or shit stocks. No, diversify in sound money.
Yeah, the thing that it baffles me, because Gary North actually pointed it out quite interestingly. Like, even in the days of say the Judeo-Christian heritage where he came from, with what built Western civilization within the Old and the New Testament, there are warnings against inflationary monetary policy, and saying that we need sound and honest money, whether that be through gold or crypto. They couldn't have predicted crypto back then, of course, but it's totally compatible with that. It's just it's amazing in my opinion to think about that it's within our nature to prefer an honest full reserve banking system, because we realize that not only is it fraud, it is lying. It is saying to your customers that you have more money than you actually have, but it could cause some drastic effects on our economy of a massive boom bust cycle. So that's something that I think is just amazing. I see a question saying, "Ask how much does it cost to attend this event?" And it costs nothing. You get in, it's free. Just pay for your transportation. That's it. So,
And further, Decable 825 says, Max, you've encouraged me to revisit the Austrian school material. Did not know there were strong libertarian ethos. And dude, that is so amazing that you say that, and I'm so glad that you say that, because that was exactly my hope of doing here at the Mises University, of connecting the Bitcoin community with the Austrians and connecting the Austrians with the Bitcoiners, because they are a beautiful fit for each other. And if you are into Bitcoin, if you like Bitcoin, then you will love Austrian economics, because it is Bitcoin. I swear to you, Satoshi Nakamoto was here at Mises University at some point. I do not know who he is, but he was here. Either he was a student or a professor. I'm 100% sure that's how much Austrian economics is in the philosophy and ethics of Bitcoin. And that's how much the philosophy and ethics of Bitcoin fits to Austrian economics. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed this material. Yes, I know it is a niche material. Economics is not for everyone, but it is important because Bitcoin is based on this economic theory. And we need to get educated in it, because, well, Keynesian economics is not going to cut it.
right, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we need everyone that we can get in on this, because it's immensely important. In fact, what we were talking about with cryptocurrencies and libertarianism, it's even goes deeper than you think. Here in America, we have the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus. Ron Paul described it as the libertarian wing of the Libertarian Party. And one of the biggest things that they're doing is they're attempting to actually get engaged with the crypto community here, to get people to actually consider coming into the Libertarian Party, to actually get libertarian principles heard. Because we're not trying to gain political power. We're just trying to use it as a platform to spread this message again. But say Patrick Byrne, for example, we're trying to get Pat Byrne to run for president of the United States over at the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus. We've been talking, so he's the CEO of Overstock, which is a big blockchain-based or a company. I mean, I don't know that much about it, but like I'm sure you guys do. And the man is just a genius, both in terms of liberty and money. So just there's so much to do with the crypto community and Bitcoin at large. So.
Absolutely. And again, Bitcoin is not just a money. It is a weapon. It is a weapon of self-defense, because we can use it just like we can use gold that you hold yourself and don't put a fractional reserve bank. Just like gold, Bitcoin can help you defend your wealth. It can help you defend your freedom and your right to property and your right to prosperity, because only with a sound money can you be prosperous. It is impossible to be prosperous with a fiat money, because it is being stolen from you pretty much every single day. So how often have you been here at Mises University, and how was the shift from the first time to now?
Yeah, so this is my second time at the Mises University. This is my third time at the Institute itself. The first time was just, it was a culture shock to me. I felt like I was finally in civilization. Because let's be honest, the land of government, that is not civilization. It is not civilized. It's a system entirely built upon violence against peaceful human beings. And over here, we recognize the non-aggression principle as foundational. It's an irrefutable fact that you own yourself here. And this truly is right. You know, I knew that you were. I didn't even flinch here because I knew you weren't aiming at me. Hey, that would never happen here. Someone would never assault anyone here. That's the type of thing. It's a peaceful, civilized environment, which is the thing that I just love the most about it. So the second time that I was here, however, it's just returning home for me at this point. Like, this place is just so incredible, and it truly is civilization. That's all that this place is.
And you know, if you want to study economics, if you want to get educated on how the free market works, where else would you want to be? I mean, honestly, as we said earlier, this is the typewriter of Ludwig von Mises. Over there is Murray Rothbard's personal library. There are books that have been stolen from him, from Ludwig von Mises, from the Russians. And we thought they burned them, but eventually some donor gave them to the Mises Institute, and they traveled throughout entire Eastern Russia, and they tried to hide it and destroyed it, but they never did, the Russians. And so those writings are here, and you can read them, and you can see with Murray's like horrible writing, how he writes in the margins, and with Ludwig's really precise writing, how he edits his books and edits his readings. That is amazing. And just the people that are here are fantastic. And we talked earlier about that. Yes, you can watch the lectures, and you should. And you can do that online, but that's only information.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So what did you prefer, the lectures or the talking to the people?
So I'm going to have to go after this question, but honestly, just communicating with the people, because the lectures, you can get that online, but the thing is there's nothing more valuable than making these connections and actually talking with these people. This is where you can have your questions answered about the content as well. Or if there's something holding you back, you have this. People like to say the Mises Institute is a cult, but the two biggest figures of the Mises Institute are Ludwig von Mises and the late Murray Rothbard, and those two had fundamental disagreements in so many areas, from political philosophy to ethics to even economics. Mises and Rothbard didn't exactly agree on monopolies, which is actually very interesting. Human Action, Man, Economy, and States, where you can really find the two differences in it. But Mises even addressed it and said that what Murray has contributed to the conversation is of utmost importance. So this is not a cult. You can disagree with people. I have my disagreements with Rothbard. Walter Block has his disagreements there. Jeff Dice, Tom Woods. We're all different people. We all have differing opinions, but we all center around self-ownership and the non-aggression principle. Name and work of the current guest. So this was my last question. My name is TJ Roberts. I am the National Field Director of the Liberty Institute of Freedom and Economics. You can find us at freedomandeconomics.org. We are brand new, like 3 weeks old now, but we're growing quite rapidly. We're putting out some stuff. We just put out an article by Guido Holtzman on charity and markets. So that's just something you can feel free to check out on the website. But no, thank you so much for having me on.
Well, TJ, you got me hooked. If you have the article of Guido Holtzman, you have to read that. So go on his website. What was the website? Where can the people?
Yes, that is freedomandeconomics.org.
That is easy to remember, because economics is freedom and freedom is economics. So TJ, it was fantastic meeting you here at Mises University. And we're going to see each other next year, because absolutely I'll be back, and I know you will be too.
Absolutely. Good seeing you.
So guys, thank you again for all those amazing students that just talked to us here over the last couple days. This was pretty much it. I might be 1 or 2 more live shows tonight, maybe 1 more tomorrow. But basically, this is the last time that you will be seeing this amazing backdrop. Over there, we were sitting at the fireplace. Bis später, Jungs. Over there, you're sitting at the Rothbard Library fireplace with Murray Rothbard on the top right corner. Now we are here at everything that is Mises. So we could go through all of those artifacts one by one, and it will blow you away, the amount of stuff that is in here. It was a fantastic week. I cannot recommend to you enough to at least consider coming here one day. It is free to attend for all students. Let me say that again. It is free to attend for all students. You have to somehow get your ass to Alabama, and you have to somehow get out of Alabama eventually again. But for the time that you are here, the Mises Institute pays for everything. They pay for all the tuition, because most of the professors actually donate their tuition. They donate their costs, their effort. Why? Because they want to be here. They actually want to help you. Those are not teachers that are being paid for by the government. Those are not teachers that try to control you. I had immense, and I repeat, immense disagreement with almost all the professors. And I myself have immense disagreements with the Mises Institute. And what? Well, you can probably guess what. It's Bitcoin. In my opinion, the Mises Institute is completely ignoring Bitcoin and its beauties as the one and only free and private money that we have established on the free market in cyber anarchy, in crypto space, that is 100% censorship resistant, government neutral, pure in its economic theory, sound in its economic policy, and morally speaking, the one and only righteous currency that we have, other than gold. This is an immense tool, Bitcoin is an immense tool. It is a weapon of self-defense to defend us, the individuals, the freedom fighters, the anarchists, or the socialists, or whoever. It does not matter. It defends humankind because it defends the natural right of property, of prosperity, and of liberty, and of freedom. And in my opinion, the Mises Institute, although they do accept Bitcoin donations, Bitcoin address in the link below, please donate, do it in Bitcoin. Obviously, come on guys. But they really should do more. And I am excited to say that we here at the World Crypto Network got Saifedean Ammous, the best Austrian economist that we have right now in the Bitcoin sphere. He wrote the one and only Bitcoin Standard. This is the book about Austrian economics and Bitcoin. And he wrote it, and he, Jeff Deist, one of the core managers here at the Mises Institute, he bought a bunch of the Bitcoin Standard books, several of them. And guess where they are going? In the bookstore. So the Mises Institute will sell the Bitcoin Standard. Hell yes, we did it. We brought Saifedean Ammous, his book, his amazing book that explains why Bitcoin is the weapon that the Austrian economists have been waiting for all their time. And he wrote the book about it. So finally, it will be in the bookstore. Furthermore, we do not know yet how we can do that, but either we will bring Saifedean to New York himself, so he will fly there somehow, hopefully sponsored by some sponsor. If you would like to donate to that, donate to the Mises University or Mises Institute. And he will speak at New York, either in person or over a Hangout Skype call, where he will talk about his book and talk about the prospects of Austrian economics and the prospects of Bitcoin. That was fantastic. But that will be, I think, in September. So if you cannot wait so long for that, go back in the history here on the World Crypto Network, because guess what? We had Saifedean Ammous on here, and he talked about the Mises Institute, the importance of Austrian economics, and why it is an essential part in the philosophy and the ethics and the spirit of Bitcoin. So that is fantastic. We had Saifedean on here, and we made it possible that Saifedean is here at the Mises Institute now. Let's hope he's going to be faculty soon, because he absolutely deserves it. So thank you all for your shout-outs on Twitter. And that really helped. I talked to Jeff Deist and to Tom Woods. Both of them said, well, that actually they were surprised on how much good feedback the Bitcoin Standard got. And now they are really trying to get him on here. So that is fantastic. Saifedean absolutely deserves this. And it is incredible. Read his book, The Bitcoin Standard. It was fantastic. I can only encourage you to come here. And if you cannot come here, watch the lectures online because it's absolutely worth it. So what we are going to do next is, as a little special, just to finish this up, I'm going to walk you around a bit here on the campus. I'm going to show you some of the nice stuff. Especially, we're going to go in the bookstore and see what kind of books they have. But first of all, I'm going to unplug here my laptop. And so let's see that I have enough battery. I should have. I'm going to take the camera. Nice. Okay. This is now a little bit awkward, but now I got it. Okay. So we were just sitting here on this desk. Over there is the front door. And right here, it starts. The Rothbard Library. This is really fantastic. So if, for example, we start walking over here, we see the one and only Murray Rothbard. Right there we have him. Sitting here with his nice bow tie. And all those books that you see in here were owned and are written in the margin by the great Murray Rothbard. So for example, let's see what nice books we can find. We have, for example, right here, a first edition Human Action. Look at that. We have Mises Socialism, Theory of Money and Credit, A Theory of History. Well, that actually sounds really, really good. You should read that book. But we have also stuff like over here, The Story of Gladstone's Life. Have not read that. We have Purism Bas Unum. No idea who that is. Many, many amazing books. It continues. That is here the fireplace where we did the shows. Here we have Murray again. So as you see, many countless books. We're definitely not going to read all of them. Oh, look at this. Murray also read about Keynes, and he knew what an idiot he is. Yeah, so there are many amazing books here. What I actually also want to show you is right here. Look at this. What we have here is the first draft of For a New Liberty, Part 1, The New Libertarian Movement, The New Libertarians. Isn't that amazing? We have here a first edition of Man, Economy, and State. Look at this. Wow. And we have here the Medal of Freedom with the Murray Newton Rothbard. The Murray Newton Rothbard Medal of Freedom. Isn't that amazing, guys? Pictures of donors hanging around the Mises Institute. It's eternal gratitude for all the donors. By the way, all those books that you see here, you can buy them for 50 cents. Isn't that amazing? Now we continue moving to the library, where again, another picture of Murray Rothbard. And look at this, here you can get your ties. That is amazing. And that is the bag that I got. And just look at this, if I find it. Here. Look at this. Of course I got those silver coins. Let that focus. That is Murray Rothbard. So a silver coin of Murray Rothbard. And a silver coin of Ludwig von Mises. Isn't that amazing? You can get those here at the bookstore. We got a couple posters, some students talking. Hello there. Hello. And more books. You can get all those books. Isn't that amazing? Books, books, books. So many books. All those books are pretty much for sale. You can also get them free on the Mises.org website. Look at this here. We have Mises in America, another great book. We have, for example, here, Making Economic Sense, also a nice book. We have my personal favorite, For a New Liberty. Isn't that amazing?